Why won't your baby sleep through the night? Sleep training. Is it a scam? Let me share something with you. You can avoid having your baby cry it out while also getting your baby to sleep through the night. I'll tell you how in this video. The mama behind Baby Settler, and I'm also a registered nurse and board certified lactation consultant in the Charleston, South Carolina area. If you've just found my channel, I am so glad you're here. Will you take a minute to hit that subscribe button at the bottom right corner of this video, and be sure to like this video by giving me a thumbs up. Okay, have you asked yourself this question yet? When will I get to sleep again? It's one of the most common fears many new moms and dads have for both their newborn and themselves. It's a legit concern. Evidence-based research backs that sleep is a priority. And you're not alone if you are or if you have asked yourself that question. I'm about to share with you my best tips for getting your baby to sleep through the night. After years of working with women during pregnancy, labor, and in the postpartum period, I've found most parents are looking for that one magic answer to get their baby sleeping through the night. You've likely seen plenty of people claiming to know the trick, secret, or resolution to getting your little one to sleep. Can I share a truth with you? There isn't a magical trick out there. The truth is, each baby is unique. Your baby's needs aren't the same as my baby's needs. But I've got good news for you. The key to helping your little one extend their nighttime sleep is actually learning the why behind the information overload, suggestions, quick tricks, and tips out there. This looks less like just stick to the schedule and more like educating yourself and being informed about infant sleep cycles, realistic expectations for sleep, methods and ways to naturally extend sleep, and implementing the right steps to a good foundation for sleep. It's a holistic approach to sleep, and it's a proven method to get your baby and yourself more sleep. I'm gonna share the proven methods in just a minute, but I want you to know in the description box below, you can access my free guide, The Essential Truths to Birth, Babies, and Breastfeeding to get you started. And if you're looking for a routine, I've got my 2 to 6 weeks recommended routine linked below as well. I want to empower you to set your baby up to be a good sleeper. Many parents are made to think sleep training is some kind of developmental milestone you have to walk through with your baby, but it doesn't have to be. Gaining understanding on each of the topics I'm about to mention and incorporating some foundational practice from day one will help your baby naturally extend their sleep from 5 to 6 hours to 6 to 8 hours and then 10 to 12 hours without using the cry it out method. Here are some ways that are proven to get you and baby more nighttime sleep. Number 1, feeding on cue. Whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, you need to feed on cue. When you're feeding on cue, that means that you're looking for your baby's feeding cues and you're following a feed, wake, sleep cycle. Why do you need to feed on cue? Why do you need to follow the feed, wake, sleep cycle? Because your baby is going to take the most efficient, effective feeds when you're feeding on cue. So here's an example. Let's say your baby wakes up at 9 a.m. for a feed. You just fed your baby, let's say 90 minutes ago at 7:30. They took a good feeding, went to sleep, and then they woke up at 9 a.m. If you don't feed your baby right as your baby is waking up from that sleep cycle, your baby is gonna spend that short period of the wake window awake, either being held off by a pacifier for a feeding or soothed in some other way to prevent them from getting upset. And then when it is time to start a feeding, your baby's gonna be at the end of a wake window and falling asleep when they should be waking up and taking a vigorous feeding. So one of the most important things about feeding on cue is to follow that feed, wake, sleep cycle and make sure that you're catching your baby at the start of a wake cycle and starting a feeding at that point so that they have the alertness and the vigor to take a good, efficient, effective feed and take a full feeding. You want to learn how to hit reset when your baby gets overstimulated. So going back to that other example, if your baby has a wake window that's too long, they're going to fall asleep when they start sucking, whether it's sucking at the breast or sucking on a bottle. They're going to want to fall asleep because they're overstimulated. So if they fall asleep and they're overstimulated and they don't take a good feeding, then we don't get a full feeding and it turns into a snack feed and your baby's gonna wake up in 20 minutes because they didn't get a good feeding. What do I mean by learning how to hit reset when your baby gets overstimulated? When your baby gets overstimulated, it is going to be your job to get a good pocket of sleep between 2 feedings so that your baby can wake up and take a good feeding. If your baby is constantly overstimulated, if your baby is not getting good pockets of sleep between each feeding, they're not going to take good feedings. We want to make sure we're following a routine. We're not following a set schedule. So it is unrealistic to make your baby stick to a set schedule. A routine is what we want to do to help support your baby to take those good feedings and get those good pockets of sleep between feeding. So a routine is like a feed, wake, sleep cycle. You're going to feed your baby, you're going to have a little bit of that wake time, and then your baby's going to go to sleep. And when your baby wakes up, you're going to feed your baby and do the whole thing again. After about 2 weeks, I do recommend implementing an anchor feed, and then also techniques such as differentiating daytime feeds from nighttime feeds. Again, I cover all that in my Babies Made Simple course, but here I just want you to know it's more about a routine and less about a strict schedule. Let's go back to talk about limiting wake windows. So your baby's wake window is not going to be set to, let's say, 60 minutes. Your baby's wake window is going to change throughout the day. So if your baby had a short nap leading into this next feeding, then you're going to have a short wake window after this feeding because your baby just took a short nap before that. So you want to make sure that your wake windows mirror your naps. Short naps equal short wake windows. Longer solid naps equal longer wake windows between feedings. And you also want to make sure that you're looking at the wake windows specific to their age. And remember, when your baby is going through a growth spurt or a developmental leap, their wake windows are going to be much shorter because all of a sudden they're so much more aware of their environment around them, and it's much easier for them to get overstimulated. And lastly, I want to make sure that you know how to soothe your baby to get your baby to go to sleep. So especially in the first 12 weeks of life, there will be times when you have to assist your baby to sleep. Once your baby is in a deep sleep, you're going to be more successful with setting them down and having them continue the nap. When your baby's in that early sleep or transitioning and they're restless, if you go to set your baby down at that point and they were overstimulated, they're very likely going to wake up and you're going to have to do the whole process again. So the trick in the first 12 weeks of life, especially, is when your baby gets overstimulated, and even sometimes just for naps in general, helping them transition to that deep sleep before you set them down. After 12 weeks, we want to do that a little bit less frequently, but if you find that you're in a pattern of restless naps, overstimulated baby, it doesn't matter where the nap happens. The answer to getting yourself back on routine is the nap. So you're just going to make sure the nap happens wherever it has to happen. So as you can see, many factors come into play when it comes to your baby and sleep. A well-meaning friend might have shared a foolproof schedule with you, but the truth is you don't want to live trapped by your baby's schedule, and that schedule isn't going to work for you if you don't know the why behind the recommendation. And your baby is constantly changing. Babies go through growth spurts, developmental leaps, teething, illness, you name it. You also go on vacation, visit your neighbors, stay with your parents. You need to have the know-how to not have to refer to your book, app, or manual every time something happens outside of your schedule. When you know the why, you can have a routine you are confident in rather than a schedule you hope your life can stick to. And I totally get it. It's hard to feel confident in your ability to figure out what your nonverbal baby needs when no one has taken the time to help you understand the why behind their recommendations or give you helpful suggestions. And I just shared a few tips, but I share a lot more, including the why, in my Babies Made Simple course. Again, there's a link to it in the description box below. But I also want to tell you that in the course, you get access to the why behind the suggestions, and you'll get the know-how to feel confident in your ability to support your baby with a routine that gets you all the extended nighttime sleep you need. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments about this video, drop them in the comments box below. I want you to know that I see all the comments and answer all the questions. And don't forget, you've got this.